trying to balance this up a bit. We've got banging going on behind me. Excuse me, now I've got a drink. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Regarding the offer of contracts. Said correspondence has always been unresponsive to the full disclosure, so it's rejected without dishonour. This went to the company, Northamptonshire County Council Limited, Company House Reference Number UC 0407116. Anybody can check that out. The former department, known as years ago, going back 2014, was, I should say, area office, Younger South Adults Team, John Dryden House, 8 to 10 The Lakes, Bedford Road, Northampton, Northamptonshire. They used to have the head office at the County Hall, Northamptonshire. They sold it off, public owned, by the way. There is no lawful obligation on my part to do any business with these civil servants in their capacity as a civil servant, as I am the beneficiary and the grantor. And I'll just go on to briefly the previous evidence of first-hand knowledge of the truth on the record of all parties and what transpired. We're going back a history of 2012 to date. Back then it was 2014. As the statutory law systems changed in the United Kingdom and offer disabled people the offer of so-called goods and services in the framework in statutory policy, Care Act 2014, and with all that, that's meant to be relevant. But it's all by design, all these cutbacks ever since. I won't mention any, I'll just mention first information, I won't mention any last information, so I'm not going to breach any data. My weekend claim offer has never been rebutted by any public servant. As trustee of the trust of, what I'm named by, I am the beneficiary of the trust and I instruct all public servants to, as I already made quite clear, proves the past 2 years and 3 weeks to date. This was dated, let me just go back to the date, UCC 1-308, and it was resent 21st of July 2014, copy payment seal at a wide angle as a woman. These are men and women in the job role and they're meant to be working for the public in their capacity as civil servants. When previous, which I was studying, and again, there's no disrespect to men and women working for these companies. An invoice was sent on the 1st of, well, 6th actually, of October 2018, well, 14, correction, going back what happened. They ignored it. The former directors of Olympus Care Services Limited, they still exist, the company, first floor, Olympus House, Billingbrook Road, Northampton, Northamptonshire. They are owned by the public purse and they are owned again in conjunction with Northamptonshire County Council Limited Company. You can check it out on Companies Check, Companies House, Dun and Bradstreet, they're corporations. So all I've been seeking currently the past year is a full disclosure of the terms and conditions. Now, since what they did to me, certain individuals, unlawfully, and I've already rebutted assumptions being made about me, the living, flesh, you know, breathing, living, I'm made of flesh and blood, and how I copy claim my documents then. And then I had to prevent them. The Olympus Care Service Limited Company reference number for the company house is UC 07818-958. And it was to the chief accountant, man or woman at the time, because the documents without dishonour went. I have proof of posting. evidence. And this was, just going on to the notes, my conditional acceptance of their invite, and going back to when I was chased in the street by a civil servant, a public street, without any offer or that time to claim to review my needs. No, they should have followed the lawful due process even back then. I found out after, and that was basically to offer me independent support in they didn't even offer a meeting in my home. It was in a county hall and not privacy, and it was all to gaslight me, to actually more traumatisation by a female called Stephanie. She ran after me in the public street. I have been since traumatised by all this. Was that in my attention? The former, for years, when I become a former home I had, burgled, and the police and certain public servants then helped me moved. I can't thank them enough for my late mum and certain family members. I really can't fault it. But I didn't expect to end up in a temporary accommodation with unfortunate people, victims of their own circumstances, and having to bid for myself this place I'm living now for 8 years. I couldn't foresee that I ended up getting run over in 2009 and struggled. Excuse me. I struggled. Excuse me. I struggled. Still do. With the lifetime effects of a serious physical crime. So losing my home all those years ago and how it happened, and then having an EOP that didn't work, didn't help, and end up not being able to use my occupational therapy. Them days it's all different. The changes, it's just unreal. And how they expect disabled people to keep up with all this, what I didn't know, everything what I know now, obviously. And having constantly that horrendous experience in a temporary accommodation before I ended up getting run over was bad enough. I think it's all part of journey in life, you know, when you go through things. I've never recovered by certain things that's happened, and still traumatized. So every time I didn't know how the system really worked, when they call it start team, I got evidence of what happened to me with all that to prove it up in the old house. And then when they tried to offer me here and re-traumatization, 2012, 2013, and 14, I tried to, I had to start learning law because I took on the public servants through formerly the help of my kind sister and formerly a public law lawyer. If I hadn't had that help, I would still be in a care system. I was lied to, blackmailed. Yes, blackmailed by a former public servant, Mandy, who said to me, "Oh, I don't agree to go out of my own this home," in 2012, in May 2012, that I will not be offered any care whatsoever. How can you trust public servants after that? I didn't know what my rights were then, you see. I ended up going displaced by 3 placements. I can't say which ones because obviously you've got people living there still and they still exist. But the monopoly of this Olympics Care Service Limited has all over this area still, more than ever. Day centres. I'm sure it could be run by different people now, but I still have the problem. How can you're traumatised. So how can you trust, rebuild, move on when there's still that issue, major, never been addressed, never been a remedy, a lawful remedy at all. And then you have deteriorate. So you get run over, as I said, and you're difficult coping. You have strokes, you have paralysis in your body, and you have all these assessments. So unbelievable. Process is horrendous over the period of years. And you just like treated like a tick box in their system and not as a human individual with rights, you know. And you're just trying to assist in a complex world. And when they don't even get the old system right, and when they kept reprinting care plans that didn't meet my needs at all, and they cut the females they offered, I didn't sign a contract. We held this Olympics Care Service Limited, and there are certain departments, I can't mention which ones, because as I said, certain individuals are still head of certain departments, so this matter is still ongoing. I'm going to try and pursue to get my compensation of criminal injuries, because the red tape on that part, I gotta see when my health permits this weekend to try and get perhaps put a PayPal link on this channel. And anyone's interested to just help support me to raise some funds to hire my own independent two. One is the subject of a conveyance surveyor for the disrepair for 1 year, 9 months, because it affected my health really badly independently. And then one to raise funds to put a case into the Royal Courts of Justice in common law. And anyone who's got experience and lawfully, not honourably, in IT and documents, and you have spare time to assist, or you've got contacts with other disabled people's charities, campaign groups, and they could bring up a class action perhaps of people that are suffering the cutbacks and services, maybe perhaps look into that. I don't know, it's just a thought. I don't ever put out that suggestion, and I haven't set the new channel up yet because I'm so unwell, physically exhausted, and I'm trying to balance myself. But I think it's important to get out there, because certain individuals in my area know who I am, and they're just targeting me because of my past life. I used to be extremely political. Not anymore. Absolutely not. Because I'm just trying to move on. And if I could get the health, right care support, And if it means moving out of this place, then I need to have it to be done right, with the right funding to help me physically get people that I could know they've got CPR checks, help me physically move, be safe. Not that I am in that situation, but better situation than I am. And then I have my friends as my friends again, you know, rather than struggling to care for me. And they do the utmost because they had to since 2014. I'll just give you some pointers of evidence. This was the last I had to do. Oh, excuse me, I'm under. Sarah, she is still in her job role as a head of this particular department of home services. And they were pushed upon me when I ended up in this last placement in 2012. Prior to that, I had a former male friend acquaintance, and he became aggressive and horrible to me, and I had no one to check on this flat when I got displaced from my home. That second placement, I got a taxi from 3-4 miles away to check on my place. I still had things to pay for here, see. And at the time, instead of helping me, at one occasion he attacked me in my home and did horrible things, and I reported him to the police. And I did a police interview, and he wouldn't get charged because it's my word against his. There's DNA evidence. Everything that happened that day, I put the onus on to these public servants. That could have been prevented. So why do you think I'm really traumatised? Why do you think I can't trust this particular company? Because I've still that male had known me from the late 80s when I used to work in a pub years ago and I was able-bodied, much different, much younger. And I had a career in hotel management, and I worked around the pubs over the years, part of town in the area. And when I was much younger, part-time, when the kids were at school over the years, you see. And when I bumped into him through, I don't know how I bumped into him, but I did. And he was a really nice gentleman at the time. And it was difficult for me to get close to men. Anyone, really. So when you survive attempt murder, and I've got all this evidence still, and I don't want to bang on about it, but that's a part of me. And you survive, and then you get all these years on, you're still living it, you know. And you just try and focus, you just try and move on, and you don't get asked to learn things and find things out, it just happens. And my older son moved away by then in another part of the country, and my daughter, we were close reasonably, and that didn't pan out all these years on now. Anyway, and my daughter could see through the dangers in this guy, and I couldn't. One birthday, we're at a lovely place in town, and it was lovely with my granddaughter, and I don't know where my son was then. I can't remember now, so far back. And this male wanted to marry me, you see, and wanted to get engaged. And I don't know, we were platonic friends. And trouble is, he was like a mummy's boy, no disrespect, but he had his own problems and he couldn't see through. He was a very tall man, very strong, and he wasn't educated in certain ways. And he was well liked. I met so lovely people through him. I appreciate that. The sad bit is that he pinned me to my wheelchair and attacked me in my own home. Reported. Excuse me. So that re-traumatised me, of course, and I appreciate the former social worker, public servant at the time, trying to assist me on that, but it's horrendous doing the videos with police and going through all that and taking my stuff up my flat and going searching through, and they got all the DNA evidence they needed, you know, and they pinned him down. They knew who it was, and they just, because of my disabilities, they wouldn't charge him. There was evidence, but they wouldn't charge him. The CPS wouldn't charge him. So I link that to the failings of the former Department of the Younger Self Adults Team social workers before, and as they merge and change their process, how they work all these years on, I've never been able to forget it. I do try to move on, but it's stuck there. So I've been focusing really on meditation, natural health, and learning about law, because I really just was re-traumatised badly when I got displaced to this place over in Corby, Northamptonshire. I can't go into it all, but I've got this evidence on my old analogue phones. I didn't realise until towards the latter part of last year, after my late mum died, and I found photos of burns on my body when I was hoisted into the hot, the hot bath. The ladies didn't hoist me correctly into hot bath, and my back was burnt. They didn't charge up my wheelchair overnight properly, and I got pictures of all that. They didn't have the things I needed by my bed like I got at home, and prior to that I still have, but obviously now, and the extra things I need, and they didn't make sure that was there. It was a place where you go temporary respite, perhaps for a couple of days, not for the time, the period I was there for. And then it was like a place of rehabilitation, and yes, they got a really good layout. It really is quite good, actually. But you're isolated. It's encouraging to do things for yourself. It's important. And if I could, had like a flat built similar, smaller version like that would be ideal. With accessible kitchen rather than the one behind me, and with equipment, and you could do one assistant with one-handed, and safely, and space and shelving and stuff. It does need to move on now. It needs to be a modernised environment. And I think the only way now in 2019 is going to be in a care environment, in the care home, and that has implications. So I'll go into that later if I can. So the problem I have with any offer services now is that past traumatisation still affects me. And I cannot cope. I've tried. Anyone in my home that I don't know, for anything. And it's only pure chance I had a recent gas service offer, and I knew the guy, and I was streaming that just only because of my safety, in case anything was said. and I was in contact with private friends with that anyway. Yeah, so you can imagine there's a lot of bad memories here. And I'm not tied up with this place. I just need to be done things right this time, you know, and offer a full disclosure. That's the way my mind works now. That's where I am now. Because I don't want the same pattern of events to happen again. Don't want any more trauma. I just want to be happy. Excuse me, I'm emotional today. The thing is, when you go through things in life, I'm not going to pour everything out, bore you with the details. The fact is, when things don't go right and they're on the national trend, all this time on, no matter about what you go through personally, you need to have the correct. You see, we don't put in a tick box exercise. You can't help what's happened in life. Things have happened, you're trying to move on. You can't forget, you just need to. Meditation has got me through this. It's trying to still, and it's the spirituality of the subconscious and the meditation is so important to get your mind, body, and soul in tune to get through all this trials and tribulations in life. And my late mum taught me that. And when you reach out and you're targeted unlawfully, you're just branded and you're just labelled, and it's like you're a commodity to the state system. And you have previous evidence when you held people accountable, and they just get away with it, you know, in a public servant role. So this series of the they blocked all these men and women as the directors, board of directors, as trustees for these corporations, these companies, unlawfully had produced, well, I had to refuse it without dishonour on my part, which is all nil and void offers. And especially one dated 14th July 2014. So basically, as I said, all the previous policies and claimed to be personal cares I never signed for, which is obviously my signature, their assumption that I consented for certain females by this Olympics Care Service Limited in a certain department and over from into my own. And how they produce these care plans wasn't even in conjunction with me. And by that time, as I said, June 2012, at that date, there was about 12 different ones. And that wasn't even offering me the actual times I needed even then. And there were certain females in my own was cutting. It was witnessed by my previous neighbours who used to talk to me. And they were cutting all the hours out. They were burning the food. I've got a full witness, a former, well, she's still a friend, but she's not as comes down anymore. And she witnessed me being choked on food, where it's uncooked food, by certain individuals. I've got evidence and diaries of all this. Who was involved, who did what and how. So basically, one particular Sunday, there was a woman called Sarah and another female called Caroline tried to force upon me to sign on a Sunday evening on my own in my home a contract. Who gets you to sign a contract documentation? And they were verbally making verbal comments about me, trigger comments, extremely abusive mentally, caused me a serious hate words attacking on my private life. Date of this also again was two previous individuals, Thursday the 10th of 7th 2014. So this document was typed up At the time, I could type, no longer can do all this now. Anyway, it went on to state the fact that I shall refrain from all unlawful behaviour on top of despite all of my requirements and my terms and instructions, conditioned with the notice of truth of the facts of record, are proven facts, basically what's happened, who did what, when, and dates, etc., etc. It's never been fully rebutted at all, till this date, since then. I personally now shall counterclaim for the tort law, and an awful harm and attacks on my private life and data protection also that happened then, you see. And an awful held data and writing comments about me without my consent and refrain from all actions at once. Until such lawful offer of my instructions of all access to correct facts by my written consent only are amended of your company employees, claimed held data, claimed records, I shall seek damages for unlawful use of my data and private life information, using employees, females, and undated who they were, what happened, what they were witness doing. By that time, I started having a couple of friends of mine moving up from the South UK, getting jobs in the area, aware of what's happening, and they started working in private healthcare, occupation therapists. That's who started taking over my care. They would come in and I had to cancel care because they kept offering me erasures of these same people that were abusing me in my home, females. And I was also trying to access the personal budget funds instead to hire my own choice of a care company. And I already stated which one I wanted, Housing 21. They claimed, they haven't got the capacity to take me on and offer a contract. So I sought clarification, offered me a personal budget then. And I look at personal PAs. And they blocked that even then. That was by the Adult Health Social Care Department employees, men and women, and Northamptonshire County Council Limited public servants. They had abused then all of my due process, unlawful disability rights, and being put at risk and disadvantage. They are the ones that started it, not I. So it's my conditional acceptance offer and avoid offer, as I said. I limit entry to females of my choice. I shall counsel the forced unlawful same females. I did make clear never to offer in any manner to which I've already proven their data and breached my private life and the abuse too. I put it in writing. I therefore shall have as I just state that one, only provide of my private home the codes, and by the way, they would drop gloves in the communal areas, hallways, and either side of this flat. My neighbours are witnessing. I got one neighbour who witnessed the conversation and what was said and repeated back to me. That's when I know how my data got breached, and that's when I started having the disability hate crime to me by a former individual that used to live above me. And that's been years of hell. And the housing individuals did nothing. Oh no. So I don't know how I survived that. But anyway, when there's a key code, key safe, how they should respect my privacy, how they should not burst into my, at the time before my health reduction, they're trying to transfer on a certain medical aids I have in my bedroom from my wheelchair. And you get have 1 week's training in care and how you're treated even then, as they had to cover their contracts and they had to cover the hours. So you might have a new employee. They're meant to do shadowing of carers. When you're on, it used to be agreed on a shopping call. So you get to know a new individual shadowing that one other carer accompanying me and helping me in the shopping, get my food and paying my bills and stuff like that. and that's what's agreed. Well, they started changing that. They said suddenly, out the blue, a new individual will turn up in the morning, 11 o'clock, with somebody, one of the cows I knew, but complete new individual, and expect me. I can't cope with that. That's a breach of my privacy. Hold on. You can't string personal care with your cat's health care with strangers you don't know. How do you know if they've got the confidence and experience in there? And you get to find out by other people you get to know that individual's only had 1 week's training and just pushed it in at the last minute to care for you. And then you'll have occasions when people will be late. It's just, I think it's got worse, but that's my opinion. And so trying to get the right, I mean, I don't know how many care companies now, 2019, are going bust, but the national agenda, how it is, go on Disabled People Against Cuts website, look at the history, going back the years I mentioned to date, and see what's been going on all these years nationally, United Kingdom, not just from my experience. There's others that can't speak up for themselves. What about families as well, But I had to start learning about what my rights were, and that's what I started doing. And that's when they started placing things around. Excuse me. Evidence. When my private friends after work were coming and see if I'm all right, when I reported what was happening to me and my own to my private friends, they would offer to take over, and a lot of the calls by the end of it all, and between their job and the hours they were doing shift work, and because they started witnessing the unlawful spying in my own private home, and they were placing items as carers around in my own, and they were doing it in such a way in the wet room. At the time it wasn't disrepaired, and then in my kitchen, and then they were placing it in such a way to see if they'd been moved the next day in the morning. And how they would do the rotors, they would send people that were here the night before in the morning. What on earth is that about? So my mate started documenting the evidence. That's all being stored off away from my home and somewhere safe, the evidence, all that time ago. It wasn't me making it up. I didn't know about it until my private friends started seeing all this on a repeated pattern. Psychological abuse as well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't believe it, by these former public servants. So therefore, this had to be sent to the former Young Disabled Adults team, as I said, the Hampshire County Council Limited, then the Servants Care Service Limited, and there's certain department. It detailed a lot more. I've got another detailed 4 pages with dates and times and what happened then. So I didn't get any lawful clarification. So this is when I started learning about common law, the breach of the natural animal rights as well. And as I didn't have a full disclosure of a contract and the assumption that this was made without ill will, by the way, without all my natural animal rights intact, and without any omission of liability whatsoever, and reserved. And so basically these civil servants had a duty of care to offer a remedy. And years ago, I believe it all began because when I won, there was an admission that I had been found to maladministration previously, years ago, periods of 2008, 2009, 2010, and then by 2011 they called it, then they still do, rebranded the wording local government ombudsman, but they rebranded it now as known as local government ombudsman in health and healthcare, to investigate, and I don't know how many other statutory law. Most probably they're just going to dig up a load of BS about me, which to discredit me yet again, because there's a history of me. Well, the former CEO of Northampton County Council and Company being held accountable on behalf of their employees, civil servants, of maladministration was proven, and I was offered compensation. It wasn't a lot, and ever since then, same has happened, but worse you can imagine. So by the end, I had to learn how to prevent the unlawful trespassing then to my home, to protect my safety, to protect my physical body, my psychological well-being, and all the time, you see, because I was not being offered, ignored the offer of a personal budget, full disclosure, etc., and correct care plans, and former public law lawyer, individual, former helped my sister leading up to that time, knew full well what's going on as well, repeated history kind of thing. Got rid of my former ex, of course, a while ago, and that's on the help of a very good friend of mine, very talented artist, in 2013, and leading up to current date, led me and got me into learning these subjects, and also onto knowing who I am and taking control and empowering myself and trying to heal from the traumas. And by meditation, then former neighbour, well, he still lives about, but he doesn't want to talk anymore, for whatever reason, and meditation and changing my diet and doing all that, and I did move on. Then it was about trying to enjoy life and then learning other subjects on top. But I never got a remedy what happened. So by, unfortunately, 29th of night 2014, my neighbour still lives about, he'd witnessed certain individuals, they placed their cars at the back and the front of my area where I live, and they were stalking me, harassing me and trespassing me in the hallway, despite my neighbour witness and notice on the communal door, unlawful trespass, denying implied right of access, that kind of thing. And as I said, they already pre-sent a recorded post, all this information. And the reason why I rejected the offer services is because nobody was held accountable and started abusing me. And I didn't make it up. So I put my fee schedules in, and even though there wouldn't be a remedy on that one, but they ignored it. So what could I do? So they put on their documentations, haven't they? And they now call it a new computerized system nowadays anyway. And they link up to old data still. I'm sure that you do. They claim they didn't have this data in July 2018, when the young individual, inexperience in this particular area, in their version, it's known as statute or complaint system. They didn't have the director, found out this, of head of services to investigate. Excuse me. I've got to get off in a minute. It's been about an hour. 40 minutes, I think I'll be in here. So, brought it down to the reason why I come on here today. They expect me to suddenly forget all this. And I did not want to end up in hospital the way I did. on the 27th of September 2017. At the time, my old laptop, my friend had Facebook set up, streaming live, talking to my daughter, and thank God I was in bed at the time feeling queasy, and suddenly I lost the full functions of my health. Couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do nothing. It was like another set of stroke, but all both sides. And I couldn't move, I couldn't ring out for help. And my daughter-in-law at the time, all the way south of England, didn't see me in it, watch and witness what happened, and call 999. I wouldn't be here today. So I don't remember much. It's just that I can't get into that. You're not great on computers, and can't get into that live stream and to get the evidence. But she did do. She must have saved it. I don't know if she was able to, but she did do an email statement for me, what she witnessed, and she saw local police, public servants had to use, apparently a neighbour of mine said the police use a baton rattan. They somehow got into the block of building where I live, into my flat door, bashed the door in, broke it completely. Because they had to do that in common law, and to get the local ambulance, public servants, NHS funded individuals in my home, because I didn't know what was happening. It was like a heart attack and a major stroke. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I could breathe. But I just remembered focusing on remembering what to do, meditation-wise, like breathing. And I wasn't looking at the camera. And I kept saying, oh my God, and trying, oh my God, trying to get the words out, and I couldn't. My daughter-in-law obviously was on the phone to the ambulance crew, who her emergency call was transferred up to this area, and they kept her on the line. So by the time I didn't know really what was going on around me, they did the, so I'm led to believe, they did all the heart thing and all this stuff they do on you. And also cut short, the piece of paper they do, and they take it off, it was tucked in the bin. And my private friends, when I got home, found it in the bin, and it showed the heart thing they did was up, going up. Why the hell that wasn't shown to me or known to me? My daughter-in-law, my friends reckon because they didn't want to cause a panic or something. I don't know. But I've got a copy of that still as evidence. My heart was all over the place. What the hell's going on with me? The discharge sheet eventually from the hospital didn't give a really definition or diagnose. It's similar to what I've had before, and this was a major one, what happened to me in end of 2017, and that's why I deteriorated, and that's why I sought clarification, because my friends were struggling to cope with my care, and I thought, what is available now? Trying to put all this behind me, move on. Had I known that they would reject any offer of referral to the public servants in my area from the hospital, what they should have done, and discharge team, and they said I had to call myself when I got home from the hospital and a safe discharge. Had I known that somebody got in my flat because it wasn't secure as I was promised, and I was in hospital, and by the, I don't know how many days it was, or the time I got in hospital, my daughter-in-law kept in contact with me and checking how I am, my son at the time, and the housing was horrendous ever since. That's what started all that. Not repaired my flat door. I've got evidence photos of all this housing disrepair on top. And they hadn't repaired my flat door, the lock is all unsafe. And don't forget, it's October right up to January March 2018, they didn't repair my flat door. They didn't care. So I could have been a goner kind of thing, and they wouldn't care less. Oh no. One less to worry about, but I survived because it's not my time yet, and it still isn't. Anyway, moving on. And by July 2017, the split in the floor and the wet room. Yeah, I know all this now. Everything's all linked up together. How that started, finding out on the housing side, they never built this wet room it's not a proper wet room lawfully to start with since I moved in all those years ago. And when all the liner got took up and everything else, found all this out, they've only trying to get me up my own ever since. So what they've been doing all this time, I ended up getting all the health deterioration, my glands of the mold and the airborne, it gets me run down. And so end of last year, the cold, 2017 that were then, the snow and everything, and the coldness, and my dental infection got really bad, so I couldn't meet any public servants till May 2018, and that's when I didn't know how it works, the new system, and I started finding out other subjects on what's happening and certain individuals behind the scenes, certain individual family member. Oh my goodness me, the cutbacks and services, I didn't even know how all that would happen, and it did. Still going on. And how it's all changed, and both in statute law nationally, but also more than ever, I know all about this contract law business. And yet my health was so weak, and I wasn't able to push all this full disclosure and the documents and the letters because I've lost a lot of my ability in my health. And my friends had to struggle caring for me, and the times they could only do emails was out of hours, and sometimes late at night. And sometimes when I got so ill, they would have to sleep on the settee overnight. It's not ideal. And so that's ever since then I've been trying to get the right support lawfully, educate myself on both. I know about the contract law side, but on the statutory duty of care and how it works, and when they're meant to be offered service, and choice and outcomes, and all these buzzwords, and linked up services in public healthcare, housing, NHS, and then it come into adult safeguarding again. So I looked into section 42 and how that works, and the duty of care, and all it's been about is that, allegedly. So it comes across to me. Nothing to do with choices and outcomes, nothing to do with what's meant to be offered. Instead, when I went to public servants, so-called members of parliament, yeah, and locally, certain individuals in the oath of office, in the code of office, in the civil servant role, I caught them unlawfully breaching their duty of care again, and the emails was polite and lawful, and the constitution was breached in Northampton County Council Limited, nationally, NHS, and quite a few other areas in my situation, and housing contract on right to repair, as well in when I even offered to be out temporary basis where I found a place twice for evidence, all these emails. So why should it be up to disabled people in one's position to take these people on, and they work for the public and we're paying their wages, and to just exist because, and I found out that I do meet the criteria for offer of NHS funded. It's known as Better Healthcare Fund, and I've been saying this, well, help by emails for the past year. And but certain individuals, they're on holiday, summer, then you're putting on a list. It's not just me. The cutbacks and services meant there was quite a lot of caseloads where individuals like myself being blocked to be referred to the correct long-term disabilities team of Hampshire Care Council Limited, and never been involved in their civil servants role as public servants in any decision making. How and whom and by what. It's so they don't have to. I found out by the end of November 2018 the contract, a block of contracts to provide people in my situation, my personal care needs, is about cutting your care package. If you have a need of equipment like I do, excuse me, it's about cutting it down to one carer. And well, this place can't have a hoist ceiling. It's all about cost-cutting. But yet I know certain individual lives around the corner from me, independent home, in a flat. She's got round the clock care because that's funded by the NHS England, and it's funded by the CCG Coalition Group and the Better Healthcare Funding. So you see, when the correct facts is not either on your medical records, it's not correctly documented, your disabilities, your diagnosis, and if you don't have the right experienced public servants in their job remit role to offer assessments and make sure linked up services, if that's how they're meant to be working nowadays, is done lawfully with full disclosure, then they can't just assume a such assumption that one is required to have an occupational therapy assessment first, before anything. I found this out, it was only recently, by the way, again, that it's only done and offered on behalf of this national housing company, and especially certain individuals that are employed and in one's area, but they will work online now. And that individuals are totally inexperienced in my situation. And prior to all this, I've had all of the offers previously, 2010, right, 2013. Manhandling 2, and that was one of the specialist type occupational therapy assessment, because you don't get offered NHS learning medical equipment, wheelchair medical equipment, specialist type as well. It's like a hospital here of equipment I have, and without that, was condition accepted under us, obviously. And then all the extra other stuff, I won't go into that, it's private, but other stuff I need, because obviously I can't walk, and when you're bedbound, you need other stuff, you know. And yeah, I'd found the new documentation policies, especially locally, that other individuals' experiences and what they're going through, disabled people going to cards, websites, blogs, social media, etc., that other people and families with disabled children are having lack of care packages, and it's more of the block contracts. At the end of November, I found out, Director Adult Health Social Care, individual female civil servant, that a certain national well-known company in United Kingdom has got the Shore Trust, has a block contracts, all these private care homes for people in my situation, not just elderly people. So when I saw this, not saw this, but heard of this and done some research, I found that's what the agenda is. To assume that they can't reduce your care packages and you still got high care needs and complex needs, disability needs, then they assume that you need to go into a place where they provide housing with care. They call it assisted living, but it's not assisted living. It's just their model is actually different, because if you look at how the new statute law has been pushed into place with the Mental Health Act 2018, private liberty, but it's now being called something else, where these assumption, if you have unfortunate trauma and diagnosis because of that in your life, is affecting you lifelong, on top of your physical disabilities, then the assumption, and whether you've got a learning disability as well, and God forbid you've got individuals with Alzheimer's, disabilities, whatever it may be, the assumption that the care manager can now make the assumption, that's what they're pushing, to deprive individuals of their liberty, say, monitor you 24 hours a day, practically. But mind you, more like the use of what's going on nowadays with this technology and other subjects linked up to that. Now, I'm not particularly bothered about how this system is working now in that sense, because I know we are all short physically, we all only live once on this earth, and I just need to make sure my God-given rights, human rights, are protected like anyone's. So they can't segregate back in history. Excuse me. It's all about empowering, I would have thought, not dismissing what you can and cannot do. And that's what I thought it was all about, to move forward. And that's only why I try to meet up with these people. And when there's evidence, you need technology to help with computers. You need help to engage with people. You need all this extra support. To have any kind of quality life now on, it's costly, isn't it? So I didn't want to get hung up, and I didn't want the offer of the Olympics Care Service limited on my own, of the same individuals of a past experience. And whether they work in occupational therapy or not, I didn't want them anywhere near me because I'm too traumatised by it. I stated this last year. Former social worker, she meant well. She was very difficult a lot of times, but she went out her way. I can't thank her enough. I saw her one time not that long ago in the street. And one time, if it wasn't for other sector services nationally, unlawfully discriminated against me like they're doing to thousands of others with a personal independent offer, Department of Works and Pensions Limited, yes, it's a company, lawfully messing me about, claiming from disability allowance to offer of personal independence, PIP, and then find out recently that their mandatory reconsideration response was not a full statement, and it wasn't even a mandatory reconsideration letter. So that's now got to HMRC appeal, all that on top now. So it's all about draining you, and pushing you down. Now, unfortunately, I need to buy my time and trying to get having to prove you're so damn ill, having to prove you're ill for the state system. So I've just given you about 40 minutes worth of the evidence, of first-hand knowledge, of the history of Northampton County Council, the adult health social care, the former department's name, and taking them on in contract law, and taking them on previously. And yeah, it would sound like a nightmare, but how do you just keep going on, because otherwise they just want you to just, it's the system really, isn't it, United Kingdom, and it's like we're going back in history. So I have nothing against anyone working for these corporations, public funded companies nowadays. I'm conscious and cautious not to have all this again. There's no guarantees, obviously, in life, because we're all different personalities, but there is a duty of care for everyone, similar position to I. And when you don't have your loved ones around anymore, and you're still, difficult times you're going through, and there's more to come, I'm sure. I can't invest in a new cooker like I need behind me, or one ring that only works. I can't invest in up-to-date flooring in this place, carpeting and things like that I need, because a specialist type of wheels I have in all my medical equipment. And when I'd had a former Russian friend of mine that fixed up something for me, which is extremely helpful and appreciated, but when you're unlawfully gaslighted, please research what gaslighting means. Please research, if you care to know, what unlawful targeting of vulnerable people is all about. Because do you think I'm the one that's going to put up with unlawful due process? No. I will be honourable and lawful, but try and use my video streams, body language, what I say or not say. It's absolutely so sad that the world we're living in 2019 plus now, that's all about control. It's all about, if you look at the history of workhouses, just look at it. Segregation and pushing people, this is all about cutbacks. There's nothing about the distraction of Brexit. It's all about pushing people to just think, I'll be in my position if I had all my health. If I could afford natural health, if I could afford by now moving abroad and had the feasibility to do all that, the practicalities, I would have done that by now. I would have gone private a long time ago. I wouldn't rely on any public sector services, because I, like all of men and women out there, you are the beneficiaries of the Crown Corporation birth certificate, the trust and equity. I've been learning about that. And yet the state, the European state is here. It wants to babysit, in a terminology, I suppose, babysit. Babysit, I suppose you could say, well, why am I saying that word? Well, babysit, it's like the state wants to come and babysit, and it's all about being safe. Yeah, I could see the logic. And if you have poor capacity, by the way, look at what private dwelling means, whether you have a mortgage, whether you rent somewhere. When you are offered to move in so-called, their buzzwords, assisted living model housing with care, it's owned by a private company, the less rights you have. You need the full disclosure of what the requirements may be. So you're singled out. Can you hear all that? This is what the neighbourhood is like round here now. Do you think that's going to deter me from the psychological tactics? You see, all of this is all interlinked. When you speak up for yourself, or whether in my situation or able-bodied working, and you are aware of the bigger picture of other subjects out there, then you're just seen as a thorn in the backside, so to speak, of, I used to be a big thorn in the backside. When I was able-bodied, damn well right. I speak up for my family when they're growing up, and I took them on. But just because now I'm in this situation, still in the same area, I might be able to change and dye my hair, but you can't change my facial features. What the hell should I? These public servants have a duty of care in the civil servant role, but you see, there isn't going to be a lawful remedy in statute or local government health ombudsman head office in Coventry, United Kingdom. No, because they're all part of the system. So when you learn how it all works, well, basic in trust law as well as contract law, and throw in a bit of a common law into the mix, they don't want people to be educated. They want to keep you down. I would love to get rid of this microwave, but without the heat pads to heat my body with my ill health and disabilities, there's so much I'd like done. They wouldn't even upgrade this kitchen in 2013, housing company, individuals, but everybody else around it got theirs. Direct discrimination violations is true. It still goes on. Look at the human rights violations. I mean, look at the UN report. All these other alternative individuals, the word disability can mean different things to different people. Suppose in a way I call myself ill and pardon now. And when you research the evidence, history evidence, the DSM manual 5, 6, whatever they call it now, on the psychological disabilities, the trauma, how do you think trauma originally was treated? The trauma of the mind science of the brain. So if you're traumatized by certain events in life, it's not simple just to like patch work quilt, when you're permanently affected. Just to throw medications at you, so to speak, and shut up and go away kind of assumption. Get rejected by talking therapies. But yet the NHS England and nationally, very good, excellent people out there exposing what's going on and all that. And then there's lack of access to shops and for wheelchair users, and people are trying to be positive. So I really admire that. But unfortunately, there's a few people that slip through the gap, and I'm one of them. And I'd like to think, that's what I'd hope for this year, is to move forward, but not to be pushed into situations with the closed mindset where they assume that I don't know my lawful rights. I've been pursuing this since I had my gut feeling, just before my mum passed. A former paralegal male who absolutely had got me onto this trust law, and without his skills and knowledge, twice he sat in 2 meetings last year. But they got to him, pulled him out. Don't know what they said to him, but that's what they do. They discredit you. They go after whatever they do behind the scenes. I don't give a monkey's what people think about me. Sits and stones, break my bones, and all that. I don't care. I do care about having some kind of existence that is lawful. But you see, when you live in an environment or a situation, well, I can't talk about other countries. I can only talk about my part of the world. Excuse me. Assumptions that this, that, and the other. You see, when there was certain things you find out, and the power of the subconscious mind and the mind, body, and soul, how it all meant to work together. But when you have bombardment of so much unlawful things happening to you, and you know it is, it's know when to let go, when to, balancing what's important. Since my late mum died, just having that importance of the balance. And unless you're connected to the right people, and that's getting a bit dark, I'll end this stream now. Unless you have the right support, and it's going to be the right, without cutting corners, I can't see. You see, but I'm not going to preempt anything. But I know for a fact, from the evidence I've got, and I just read a few bit from the past, and things moving on with the cutback services. When I'm seeing people struggle with trying to get the right equipment, I mean, if you've got their partner, if you've got a husband or a wife, if you're a male with disabilities, you're absolutely, I know it's not ideal, but you're lucky to have that. But when you don't, you live in an environment of people out to work all the time. You're just the only one in this my situation around here. You get targeted and singled out. I won't go into all what's going on around here and who's involved. What's the point? Because I've been through all that before. But you see, you can't just move. In my situation, you need all these other offer assessments for other services, public services. I've had all this years ago. Not one accessible bungalow was big enough for me and my medical equipment, my carers, my wheelchair, and you could hear all the drilling and DIY above my head right now, can't you? Do you think I can recover here in this environment after a big operation I need? And I had to put it off for over 18 months because I've not got the right support I need. My private life friends could all cope. I won't be able to talk, I won't be able to eat, I can only drink. There's a certain operation I need. So that's all I keep getting all ill on top of all this. It's unlawful, yeah, but you have to try, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm looking at lawfully seeing the correct lawful decision making of civil servants and not breach more human rights, because you don't mess with me. You can hear it's getting dark now and a bit grainy, so I'm going to end this now. I will progress. Switch off, what a comedy. Watch. Hopefully my glands will go down a bit. And chill out and watch a comedy now. And know what works for one and to keep one on the right path. Because don't get pushed about, you know. You need to try and remember. I know this knowledge of certain things. All I'm trying to do is, yes, it's hard to forgive. It's extremely hard. And I've been working on that for years. And for those that's transgress against one. And my late mum won't want me to have grudges. No, I don't. I don't have grudges. I just making sure all this won't happen again. And I just want to make sure things are done right this time. And the past year it's not been happening that way yet again. So if they find certain individuals who will side up with each other, because they all protect each other in this statutory law system, they find that, oh, well, this is how we work now. Well, why the hell don't they explain things more clearly then? So individuals like me won't have to search themselves and look at YouTube channels and figure out it all. Oh, what, they haven't got time because they cut back some services. I'll make some bloody time somehow. I'm not expert in all this. I'm just me, from my experience. So YouTube has basically also cut off people's live streams on mobile devices. So if you think this is interesting, which I doubt, but if you think it's helpful for what's really going on in 2019, well, past and current, still to date, then click that like button and help support this channel. And when I'm in a better health, I have to consider setting up a channel and how that's going to be done. At the moment, I don't know. At the moment, my health comes first. But for those that do have their health, never take it for granted. Look after, in my opinion, your loved ones, your family, your friends, because there's a lot of things behind the scenes going on. And other subjects I'm not here to talk about. It's not my place. But I just appreciate those that are getting, that they know certain things in statute law, but I learned things in contract law, some things in trust law. As I said, we're all beneficiaries and have benefit use of that trust fund created by the Crown Corporation. And that's what the state system relies on us not to know about. And I'm sure to goodness there are good people out there. I could see myself going completely dark now. So I'll end it there for now. I will keep pursuing, but one thing at a time, being a Friday. And I wish you well. And just be aware. even if these individuals won't be accountable, and all those have lost their lives and given up, and their families are going through hell because of all that by the state United Kingdom system. My thoughts and prayers are with you. And I'm a tough cookie. I still get on. They can't break me. My spirit, my heart still carry on. And I will be happy in my own way. Just one thing at a time, you know. What's that saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah. So my late mum would say, well, I can't repeat what she say, but your home is meant to be your castle. Is that what they say too? Just be aware what your rights are. God bless, take care, and I've got to go. Yeah, thanks. My mate needs to care for me now, so I've got to go. But there's my paperwork evidence as before. And emails at the moment, I propose a digital age these days, but I've got to end this and my mate can sort his computer out thing for me. But take care and just be aware.